And we are underway. Welcome back to the 2018 Atlantic Canadian Rugby Championships, our continuing coverage here, being provided by Firm Foundation Media. I'm Scott Squires. My broadcast partner Owen Hutchinson will be joining me in just a moment. And this is a 60-minute U16 contest between Nova Scotia Keltics and the New Brunswick Spruce. Speaking of Owen Hutchison, he joins me now as we are just underway in this match. Nova Scotia Keltics wearing the white and blue hoops with the gold numbers, going left to right on your screen, and the New Brunswick Spruce wearing the white with green trim kits, going right to left. And a good play here as the Keltics start off, get that ball down deep into the New Brunswick zone. I believe this is game 5 already on pitch 1 here on the live stream today, Owen, as we're packing the games in back to back. And Nova Scotia, that's a quick start, just a couple of minutes into the contest. They've got their first try. Nice crowd on hand here on a Saturday afternoon at the Truro Saints rugby field. It's not a bad start for the Keltics.
No, they kind of got the kick off there and marched right down, and they're trying to set the tone early, I believe.
Good contingent of Nova Scotia and New Brunswick fans in attendance here. I've seen all kinds of New Brunswick flags flying the last couple of days here as fans have brought the New Brunswick colors with them. So a very sharp angle attempt here for the conversion try. And just to make the point that it is still windy here at the Truro Saints Club. Ball blown off the tee. Not the first time we've seen that, probably not the last. Kick is up. Well, not a bad attempt from distance there, but just falls a little short. But the Keltics will take the first 5 points of the game and lead 5-0. Couple of men's semifinals coming up later on today, Owen.
Yeah, that should be good. I think all the teams will be familiar with each other. We'll know what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a lot of big, strong young boys coming out, and it's going to be a couple good matches of rugby.
So that's the men's U18 semifinals taking place later on this afternoon. We are going to have the first semifinal. It'll be 2 versus 3. Don't have those teams in front of me yet, but it'll be the 2 seed versus 3 seed. And that'll be at approximately 3:30 p.m. Although given the fact that this is a 60-minute game, it'll probably be shortly after 3:30 by the time that one gets going. And then the next men's semifinal is scheduled for 4:30. That'll be the 1 versus 4 seed. Our final game today at 6 o'clock might be a little bit later depending on how some things with the scheduling shakes out here on pitch 1. But the match that will wrap up our coverage here on day 2 will be senior women's action, PEI, taking on New Brunswick. We just saw the PEI senior women's team with a very convincing victory over Newfoundland and Labrador, so that's a very strong side from PEI, and they'll be taking on New Brunswick. Final game here today, but right now we've got U16 women's action. Nova Scotia has gotten off to a good start. They've got the first 5 points on the board. Nova Scotia looking to make another run here now as they get it down deep in the New Brunswick end. This U16 Keltics program, part of that pipeline of young rugby talent coming up through the women's side of Nova Scotia rugby. Keltics making a run down into that corner again. There's a nice move, cutting back toward the middle. And in for another try. So the Celtics, or the Keltics, excuse me. And a little revert back to my basketball passion there for the Boston Celtics. But the Keltics push another one in. So that's 2 tries within the first few minutes of this game. stiff breeze continues to blow. It's been a pretty darn nice day here, though. Sun is shining. Pretty decent temperatures. Great temperatures, actually, for the players' home. They've got to love these conditions.
Yeah, it's a lot better than yesterday. Even with the rain yesterday, it was just the humidity was just, could barely breathe. Even just walking around and sitting here doing games.
Well, that humidity has been cut, and my Weather Network app is telling me that the next couple of days are going to be fine, so it should be a great day tomorrow for the championship games as well.
Yeah.
So that conversion attempt tagged through the uprights by the Celtics. So a great start, just a few minutes. They've got 12 points on the board.
From what I see, I think the Celtics are going to try to work it as far as possible, get it to their wings. And as you've seen in the last two tries, they got it out to the wing and they were able to score in the far corner.
So the New Brunswick Spruce. Pretty good name for a team from New Brunswick, considering their legacy of forestry with Irving and everything else in the very forest-covered province of New Brunswick. I've traveled New Brunswick extensively, from all the way from the border of Nova Scotia and New Brunswick all the way up north as far as Campbellton, Caracat area, Shippigan. Beautiful country up in northern New Brunswick. So nice up there, and great people as well. Probably the worst snowstorm I was ever in, actually, was in the Caracat Shippigan area a number of years ago. Went from no snow to about 6-foot drifts overnight. Quite something.
Yeah, especially in the winter up there, that can change on a dime, really.
Very happy to be bringing these live stream broadcasts to you wherever you're tuned in. Send me a message via social media, either on my Firm Foundation Media Facebook page or via my Twitter account, Scott_FFM, as in Firm Foundation Media. Had some tweets earlier from some fans of Nova Scotia as well as Newfoundland and Labrador. Have yet to hear from any New Brunswick fans via social media today, so I'll issue that challenge to any fans of New Brunswick. Reach out on social media, say hello. New Brunswick trying to work that ball, see if they can get something going here on the offensive end. New Brunswick trailing here 12-0. We're just about 10 minutes or so into this 60-minute game, 2 30-minute halves. Celtics take that quickly. And that plays whistle down. Should mention, I know that with the U18 men and women and the U16 men, it's been 40-minute halves, or excuse me, 40-minute games, 20-minute halves. But just for the viewers that may be wondering, why is it 60-minute games, 30-minute halves for the U16 women?
It goes by how many minutes of rugby you can play a day, where there's only 3 teams, or 2 teams in the U16 women's division this year, New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, so they're just playing each other once. So they get to get a full game, a full 60-minute game in when they play. They played one yesterday, one today, and then one tomorrow.
So that's why the U16's playing a little bit longer games. I guess the good news for New Brunswick is there's lots of rugby left. So the thing with the 40-minute games, the 20-minute halves, is if you're trailing by a couple of tries, it really starts to get almost into panic mode because you realize just how fast the time is running out.
How quick it's going to go, yeah.
And it might not seem like a big difference, but when you got an extra 20 minutes total in the game, 10 minutes per half, you can sometimes feel like you got a little bit more breathing room to try and catch up if you're trailing. So we'll have a scrum on the the Nova Scotia side of the pitch. Nova Scotia scrum. while we have a sec, we talk about the different programs with rugby in the 4 Atlantic provinces, and of course, this being hosted by the Truro Saints Rugby Club, a vibrant rugby community here in Truro and certainly in Nova Scotia. But the Newfoundland senior team that we saw just moments ago, I had a chance to chat with them after the game, and they said, this is relatively new. They haven't sent a senior team in quite a while. And at the senior club level in Newfoundland and St. John's, there's only 2 teams. There's a team, I believe they said, from Mount Pearl, and a team, the Swilers, and they have to play each other all the time. So that is just a program that's growing over in Newfoundland and Labrador.
Yeah, I would say probably the biggest 2 provinces for women's rugby anyway would be Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. Most clubs have both men's and a women's program. In PEI, there's only 1 senior women's team that plays, and they actually play in the Nova Scotia League. So Charlottetown comes over and plays in the Nova Scotia League to get more games. There's just only 1 team there, and like I said, 2 teams in Newfoundland.
It was great to have a chance to chat to the women from the Newfoundland side. They were telling me that it's a pretty young team as well. Even though it's a senior women's team, they had a couple of U18 players, and the majority of their players are actually under 22 as well. So I guess the good thing is it's a young program, and coming to an event like this, a tournament like this, is only going to hopefully help the women's side, because I know there's a very vibrant men's rugby scene in Newfoundland.
Yes,
has been for a long time. And with these 2 teams, as you said, Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, very active and vibrant rugby communities. I mean, we look at the Nova Scotia U18 program, they've got 2 teams here at this event, so all kinds of talent coming up the pipeline. We saw that PEI senior women's team, really good looking team, and New Brunswick have some quality players as well. So really overall, I think the rugby situation in Atlantic Canada is in pretty good hands.
Yeah, I think for this part of the country, I think it's in great shape.
And certainly with some of the international test matches that have been coming to this region, and Nova Scotia in particular, the last little while and in the coming months, again, just bodes really well. You got to have those kind of events to get interest and to grow the game, and to get the kids interested, and it's great to see. And rugby is one of those games, once you come out and watch it and you see just how fun it is, just how fast and physical the game is, it's one of those games that you can get hooked on really easily. And it's neat to know as well, I didn't realize, but you guys have a Timbits program here on Tuesdays with youth rugby.
Yeah, Megan actually, when she was doing games with the she pretty much spearheads that. I think there's close to 50 kids here every Tuesday night. The 3rd pitch is just jam-packed with kids and parents, and actually tomorrow there's a little break on the 3rd field, so our Timbits are going to be out there playing pretty much a flag rugby game, just to get the real young kids coming out, and they're going to watch some of this stuff and get them even interested when they get older.
That's certainly great for the growth of the game at the youth level. Nova Scotia leading in this U16 women's game 12-0, and they've got a little bit of pressure going now on the New Brunswick side of the field. A pretty vocal contingent of Nova Scotia Keltic's fans off to our right here, Owen.
Yeah.
Very much into the game. That makes it fun as well. You always get the tournaments like this over the course of a weekend, you always get lots of family and friends out supporting the different squads, so always adds to the atmosphere around the venue and around the pitch. Let's see what I think there's a sub coming on here for New Brunswick. That kick kind of twisting through the wind. You could almost see the wind grab that ball and just take it one direction as it got up into the air. Kick goes out for touch over on the far sideline. Celtics making a run over to that corner. One defender there, grabs by the jersey, swings the ball carrier down. Good defense there by New Brunswick, just getting to that Nova Scotia ball carrier at the last minute.
I don't think the Nova Scotia player knew how close she was to the goal line. If she presented the ball for her team to ruck over, she just would have presented the ball forward. She would have been in for a try.
Ball right down on the goal line. I think New Brunswick did a good job there of pushing back on defense to keep Nova Scotia out.
Yeah, they actually held the ball up in the try zone to prevent a try. So then Nova Scotia will get a 5-meter scrum to try to punch it in again.
So scrum, and Nova Scotia takes it quickly. Can they get in? They do get in for the try. Didn't catch the number on the player that got in there. But it's 5 more for Team Nova Scotia. So 17 points up for Nova Scotia. They'll try for the 2-point convert now, see if they can extend this lead to 19.
This game here is a different tale from the first match they played on Friday before the rain delay. It was within 1 point. It was 14-15 when the Skies decided to open up. It seems like Nova Scotia might have went over some game film and game planned for what they wanted to do against New Brunswick today.
Again, it's hard to tell these gold numbers on these jerseys. Some of these numbers are not easy to see from a distance away. I think that's a 13 as the conversion attempt from Lauren May goes just wide just a little bit. I think I might try to partner with a jersey manufacturer. And we'll partner as a jersey manufacturer and a broadcaster, and I will encourage the jersey manufacturer to produce jerseys, kits, uniforms, whatever, that have very easily recognizable numbers on jerseys. So in other words, a light number on a dark jersey or a dark number on a light jersey. I think there would be a number of broadcasting companies and broadcasters across the world who would be really happy to buy our product. Owen, that's what I think.
I think with these ones, you can design them yourself online. I think, and we designed ours not that long ago. The colors aren't exactly what you're looking at, what you think it's going to be. Of course, you're looking at a computer screen. They bold it up so you can see it nice, but
I guess selfishly, if I had my way, every jersey would be either dark maroon, black, or dark blue with just plain, simple, big white numbers. That's the selfish play-by-play guy talking.
That's too simple, though.
Oh, aesthetically, some of these kits and these uniforms look absolutely stunning and really nice. But when you're trying to call them as a broadcaster, you really want to be able to get the numbers and the names so that you can call out the name of the player, especially when there's family and friends watching. You want to give the player their due. You're going to be able to give them a shout out. Here comes Nova Scotia. They are up by 17, and they've had the better part of the territorial play so far in this first half. New Brunswick try to push back just a little bit. Ball's on the ground. Good job there as Nova Scotia fought for it and got it. New Brunswick recovered quickly defensively and got the ball carrier down. Again, you see Nova Scotia quick to the ball carrier, but New Brunswick does a good job getting to that ball and trying to get it up on offense. Everything kind of at a stalemate here, just inside the New Brunswick zone. There hasn't been a lot of movement one way or the other.
After that try, that's right where the kickoff went, and the girls seemed to be just happy to play there.
Yeah, it's been within a 5-meter zone the last few minutes. Nova Scotia now will try to work it down one way. Nice cut back there, slicing in toward the middle. Nova Scotia carries on with that ball. They'll try to work it forward. Quick little offload now. Little spin move there. Good juke around one player. This is a great run coming right here, almost down to the goal line. Solid effort right there by the New Brunswick ball carrier. And it goes in for the try. So another solid effort on the offensive side of the ball for Nova Scotia. Once they broke out of that little bogged down situation that we had there for the last few minutes, just inside the New Brunswick half of the field, Nova Scotia was able to break it away. A couple of quick passes to the wing, and they were able to get it over the line. So a pretty comfortable lead here for Nova Scotia. Not quite 25 minutes into this first half.
Nova Scotia's really exposing New Brunswick. They're leaving the wings open. Everyone's committing, and they're doing a lot of ruck watching. They're pulling in, and then Nova Scotia's seeing the overlap, so they're spinning it out. And then when you have a 2-3 person overlap, you score every time. There's just not enough defense to cover you.
Lauren May with another attempt on conversion. Falls just a little bit short. Tough to deal with these windy conditions here in the kicking game, no question about it. But a pretty good effort by number 13 for Nova Scotia, Lauren May. So New Brunswick now find themselves trailing by 22 in this U16 women's game. They'll kick it off once again to the Keltics. Keltics now will try to run it to the outside, down the sideline. There's a good run of about 10 meters. Nova Scotia seems to be getting in a pretty good offensive flow here now. Ball goes down to ground. No ruck forms. They pick it up quickly. One pass, then another. Now they'll try to put it directly up the field. Nice tackle there by New Brunswick, but again, Nova Scotia quick to the ball. Moving it down that line. Here's a quick run. Another 15 meters or so. Little offload to the player trailing. Celtics working it down again. New Brunswick does a good job, steals that ball away. It's down on the ground. Now New Brunswick turning the tide here.
That's one thing New Brunswick's doing really well this game. They're counter-rucking really well. That's the third or fourth ruck that they stole off Nova Scotia. It just seems when they get the ball, they steal it. They're not in the flow. They can't get their offensive rolling.
Slow to get up off the ground there was Jordan Giddings for New Brunswick, but I think she's okay. I see some of the collisions that take place on the field of rugby, and when I see the players get up, I'm thinking to myself, gosh, if that were me, I'd probably stay down for a good 5 minutes. I'd want the training staff to come out and bring me a chocolate bar and a glass of water. Not for the faint of heart, the game of rugby, no doubt about it. A fun, fast, and physical game. Nova Scotia again now. Nice little move inside there from Cameron. Nova Scotia now will run it back toward the middle. Now they go to the other side of the field. And New Brunswick does a good job again of stealing that ball away. That's a couple of times now where Nova Scotia's been threatening deep in the Nova Scotia end, and some aggressive defense by New Brunswick has stolen that ball away. Now the question is, can they do anything with it? Can they work it up toward midfield and get it over into the Nova Scotia side of the field? New Brunswick hasn't seen much, if any, of the grass to our left.
No. They just took a penalty there for holding the ball on the ground. There was no one to ruck for New Brunswick, and she just kind of held it when the Nova Scotia player went to steal it off her. So once again, their offense gets stopped by a mistake.
That ball stripped away. Who comes up with it? The ball was on the ground there for a minute. We'll have another scrum just underneath the goalposts of the New Brunswick goal line. Be a Nova Scotia scrum put in there by Emma Fulton for the Celtics. But New Brunswick control out of the scrum. Good recovery on defense there by Nova Scotia. New Brunswick has it again. But anytime New Brunswick is getting the ball, Nova Scotia just swarming on defense and keeping them pinned deep in their own end. The majority of play in that half came inside of the New Brunswick line.
Yeah, Nova Scotia just stole a ball off a New Brunswick ruck and was able to punch another try in.
Now we see, I believe that's a member of the coaching staff for New Brunswick out here trying to kind of rally the troops a little bit. Have a little bit of a chat with them, not let them get too downhearted here about this score so far in this first half. Have another conversion attempt from Nova Scotia. Nice low kick. Just a little bit off to the left. Had plenty of leg behind it, and it was a good low trajectory, but just a little bit off the mark to the left. So it'll stay at 27 for the Celtics as we get down now to the last minute or two of this first half. U16 women's action. It's day 2 at the 2018 Atlantic Canadian Rugby Championships. I'm Scott Squires alongside Owen Hutchison, the man high above us on the scaffolding that I know you can't see, but trust me when I say he's up there. Probably take a picture of it later and send it out on my Twitter account, Scott_FFM. Brian Fisher's the guy up there dealing with the wind and the scaffolding and doing some good camera work up there for us. We appreciate all the hard work Brian does.
I don't know if Brian goes to the gym, but I don't think if he does, he'll have to do leg day anytime soon. He's been climbing up and down that scaffolding 5-6 times an hour, it seems like.
Yes, he has. We got the easy job. We just got to sit here with headsets on and talk. And anybody who knows me, there's one thing they'll tell you. There's nothing I have a problem doing less than talking. Give me a mic. Give me something to talk about. That's it. Bob's your uncle.
I don't even need a mic.
That's true. I've been here at the club. You don't. That's a good thing, though. That's a good problem to have when you're a broadcaster. Here comes Nova Scotia, giving New Brunswick problems here all the way down the sideline, trying to catch up as New Brunswick, but into the end zone with a clear run of about 40 meters. That was trying to catch the number on that player. Did you catch that number there?
Yeah, it was number 12. The handwriting's not the best here.
We really appreciate the teams providing us with the game sheets and the rosters written out, but in the particular case of the U16 Celtics, I think you and I would not be able to win a Survivor immunity challenge if it was to figure out what some of these names are written down.
Yeah, no, I know some of the teams will be watching. They're getting game films for tonight, so maybe we'll put it out there for tomorrow when the championship games and the semifinals are happening. Maybe print or find a printer and type it up for us. It'll make life a lot easier.
Some of the teams have actually done that. They've done them out on the U18 men. New Brunswick and Newfoundland and Labrador in particular have provided me computer or printer printed copies. So, again, we really appreciate the efforts being made, but in this particular case, I'm not gonna lie about the fact that some of the names I literally cannot decipher or read. So for those of you watching, it's not for lack of wanting to say the names, it's just that I don't want to even try to guess and then get it wrong. $27-0 is your score. There cannot be much time left in this first half. So based on the fact that it is now almost 3:05 local time and we've got a halftime break and another 30-minute half, safe to say that our next game will not be at 3:30. It will be somewhere after. But again, just a reminder, the live stream link for the entire weekend remains the same. So you can click on that link as many times as you want all weekend long, right up until the conclusion of our coverage tomorrow, and you will find whatever game we are broadcasting here on Pitch 1. This is the first bit of extended pressure that New Brunswick have had, or at least control, in the Nova Scotia side of the field. They haven't been down to our left very much so far in this first half. Nova Scotia takes that penalty quick, trying to move it upfield as quickly as they can.
That's again another good counter ruck by New Brunswick.
Nice little run there by New Brunswick over on that far side of the field. There's a quick take. One New Brunswick ball carrier against about 4 Nova Scotia defenders. New Brunswick takes that advantage quick, trying to catch the Nova Scotia defense off guard just a little. Trying to see where that ball is. Finally, it comes out to a New Brunswick player. But it's the Celtics who recover now for Nova Scotia. Quick little lob pass. Spun over there to that near side. Then they decide to kick it forward. It goes out to touch just beyond midfield. And that's the end of the first half. So 30 minutes in the books. Pretty good 30. If you're a Nova Scotia fan, the U16 women's Celtics leading the Spruce of New Brunswick 27-0. We'll step aside, take a break. You're watching the 2018 Atlantic Canadian Rugby Championships exclusive live stream from Truro, Nova Scotia. We'll be back.
2018 Atlantic Canadian Rugby Championships are proudly brought to you by Subway. Make it what you want. Wilson's Propane. It's for more than just barbecues. Tro Nissan. Innovation that excites. Events and conference services at Dalhousie Agricultural Campus, offering year-round one-stop shop services. And by Firm Foundation Media. Your content built on a firm foundation. The 2018 Atlantic Canadian Rugby Championships are proudly brought to you by Subway. Make it what you want. Wilson's Propane. It's for more than just barbecues. Tro Nissan. Innovation that excites. Events and conference services at Dalhousie Agricultural Campus, offering year-round one-stop shop services. And by Firm Foundation Media. Your content built on a firm foundation.
Back with you, set for the second half of this U16 women's game. PEI going left to right now. We'll kick off to the Nova Scotia Celtics, now going right to left on your screen. Celtics, 27 unanswered in the first half, and that is your score. As we begin this second half, Celtics lead the Spruce from New Brunswick 27-0. Scott Squires, alongside my broadcast partner Owen Hutchison. Glad to be bringing you day two coverage of the 2018 Atlantic Canadian Rugby Championships. U18 men and women, U16 men and women, and senior women all playing here this weekend at the Trio Saints Rugby Club. Big thanks to our sponsors, Tro Nissan, Wilson's Propane, Subway Atlantic, the events and conference services from the Dal Agricultural College campus here in Bible Hill, and of course, Firm Foundation Media. So from observing that first half, I mean, we saw what the Celtics did, and they certainly worked hard for the 27 points that they got, but what are a couple of keys that New Brunswick are going to have to do here in this second half to kind of slow up what Nova Scotia's doing and to get back into it and get some points themselves?
They have to be. The main thing is their counter-rucking is really well. They're doing it really well. So what they're going to have to do when Nova Scotia's in open field with the ball, people that are coming up on their defensive line, they're going to have to call their girls out. Nova Scotia's able to expose having a 2-3 person overlap, and then once it gets to the corner, there's no one there to tackle her because of New Brunswick's winger had to commit and tackle or ruck 2 or 3 girls over where she should be the last line, but the other girls aren't coming over to support her. So if New Brunswick gets their defense on point, like they're counter-rucking, they could steal a few balls and punch a couple quick ones in here and we'd be right back into this game.
Celtics now working it over to this near side. Ball carrier taken down by the back of the jersey as Mariah Pratt was in on the tackle, and the Nova Scotia player behind the play, a little bit slow to get up. I believe that's number 10, Maddie Mullings. That's my best guess on the spelling that I see from his writing anyway. No, it's actually number 14. Phyllis Reed being tended to. Meanwhile, play carries on. I've always found that an interesting part of rugby as well, is that if there's an injured player that's far enough away from the play, they can be tended to on the field of play while the play carries on.
As long as it won't affect the play, then it's just you carry on. I believe when she got tackled there, she hit her head pretty good off the turf, so she's being checked.
Yeah, certainly we referenced it yesterday in one of the broadcasts, but certainly a lot of emphasis being placed on protecting the players, especially when it comes to any potential injury up around the head, potential concussion situation. Not saying that that's what's happened here with Phyllis Reed, but again, they want to take every precaution just to make sure that that's not the situation. So Reed, away from the play, being helped off to the near sideline just to our right, and play carries on the far side of the field with New Brunswick in possession of the ball at the moment.
And it comes down to, like, the athletes are becoming more aware. It's not, oh, you took a knock, get up. It's, oh, you hit your head, make sure you're self-aware too. Like, she knew she hit her head and she instantly just took one knee, and
Nova Scotia again punches one in for a try, and now we've got a New Brunswick player feeling a little under the weather. That New Brunswick player, don't have a number on it, but certainly in a little discomfort right now. So Nova Scotia will sit up here for a conversion try, and the New Brunswick player will be tended to. You see her just to the left of the goal post. So I think they're probably going to hold up this conversion attempt just based on where the position of the New Brunswick player being tended to is right now. Yeah, good to see the player on New Brunswick up to her feet. The other thing is, too, as we see this conversion attempt from the Celtics, and a good one indeed. as it's pushed through the uprights for an additional 2 points. But you typically in tournaments like this where you're playing so much rugby in such a short amount of time, it's when you start getting into day 2 and then certainly into day 3 where you start to see a few more players suffering injuries or taking a little longer to get up because they've just accumulated a toll over a number of games.
Especially day 3, it's the bruises are starting to come out. You're tight, you're stiff. You're sleeping in a dorm room. You're not sleeping in your own bed. You're not.
So this second half rolls on. Another try plus a conversion put up for Nova Scotia. They now lead 34-0. Celtics rush with it again. A couple players over there on the tackle, including Sarah Grant for New Brunswick. Grant ended up with the ball in her hands. And the advantage goes to New Brunswick. They take it quickly. Spinning with it there was Shelby Poirier. New Brunswick still with that ball. Trying to get it forward was Harley Siddle. That's intercepted by Nova Scotia. Good job there defensively to pick off that pass, stopping any more momentum for New Brunswick going forward. Kristen Otto with the carry there for Nova Scotia, but it's turned right back again.
Yeah, another good counter ruck from New Brunswick.
Brunswick will carry on once more. Take that ball down. Bounced off the turf, went free for a moment, and then the referee stops play. Have a New Brunswick scrum. Ball spun in, still hasn't come out. Finally it does, and it's the Celtics who have it. They try to kick it, but it was blocked down. A second attempt to kick it. Went a few more feet, but not much more. That ball bouncing around the turf like a high bouncer. It'll be advantage Nova Scotia. Well, it's going to be a scrum. Emma Fulton rolls it in for Nova Scotia. But it's New Brunswick who pick it out of there. So good job getting control out of that scrum by the Spruce of New Brunswick. Here come the New Brunswick Spruce once again. Nice run to the outside, trying to get to the corner. A bit of a stiff arm. Can she get in? She does get the try, so New Brunswick hits the scoreboard. That was a good run to the outside. A couple of nice passes quickly along the line from the midfield portion out to the right wing, and they just had enough room to squeeze it in down in that corner. It was good pursuit by Nova Scotia, but they just couldn't catch the ball carrier in time, and New Brunswick punch it in for the try.
Came from, it looked like New Brunswick's backs made an adjustment. When that pass was picked off by the Nova Scotia player, the wind held it up. It kind of floated in there for her. But now New Brunswick's backs got closer together with the wind. Just little pop passes and instead of trying to spin it all the way out. Instead of making 2 or 3 passes, you make 4 or 5, and the result was a good one for New Brunswick.
Sarah Grant with the conversion try. And that's a bit of a wobbler. That doesn't go where she wanted it to. But New Brunswick will take the 5 points. 34-5 now, Celtic lead. Shortly after this game, we will be back with our next matchup. We've got some semi-final action coming your way. U18 men. Do they have the seedings, do you know, for that yet, Owen?
Well, our game, what will be next, is Nova Scotia and PEI, so they finished 2-3. And just from watching the tournament, and it would be Newfoundland is, I'm assuming, is top of the table. I don't think they had a loss this week at all.
We'll look forward to that game. Scheduled for 3:30, but certainly given where we are in this particular contest, it'll be much later than that. Plus, we'll need to take a little break between this game and the next. Here comes New Brunswick again now, trying to build on the momentum of their last try. Gaining some ground in the Nova Scotia end of the field. They move with it again. Chewing away at those meters. Scooped out quickly. Ball carrier got spun around there, but she did a good job to get it off to the wing. Picking up that ball was Mariah Pratt, but the play got stopped. Advantage given to New Brunswick. They take it quickly. Here's another nice run. Quick little offload. Nice move to the inside, trying to dash down to the end zone. Taken down just at the last minute was Amy McMillan for New Brunswick. Right in that corner. That's where they scored their try just a couple of minutes ago. New Brunswick back knocking on the door one more time. Now they'll work it back the other way, trying to push it in on the other side now. New Brunswick, no luck in one corner, tried to work it back the other side, but the referee sees something away from the play and whistles it down.
It was a knock-on New Brunswick. Oh, actually, Nova Scotia took a penalty, so advantage to New Brunswick once again.
Another whistle. That ball right on the goal line. Nova Scotia gets the advantage now, and they just kick that ball out to touch. Getting it a little further away from their goal line. New Brunswick sniffing around here for another try, but Nova Scotia just holding them up enough. Line out now for Nova Scotia, deep in their own end of the pitch. Line out is up, taken well by Nova Scotia. They toss it back. New Brunswick defense closes the gap quickly. Trying to wrestle that ball away was Peyton London for the New Brunswick side. Great battle for it there. Brunswick comes away. Oh, a tough tackle right there on the New Brunswick ball carrier as Nova Scotia didn't get the number, but she stood that ball carrier up and took her right down to the ground.
I believe the ref even called it a dangerous tackle. If you lift the girl up pretty much parallel to the ground, if their hips are parallel to the ground, it's considered a dump tackle. So
This is certainly a pretty physical play. There's no question about it, as the New Brunswick ball carrier got kind of taken up and down. Everybody's okay, though. Play moves on.
I'm not a referee, but that looked good from here.
We'll set up now in a scrum. New Brunswick to put it in. Running with that ball was Maya Gonzalez, but before she could make a move, again the referee blows his whistle, and that kick again will go out to touch. And as we get into the latter stages of the second half, it's kind of amazing to see just how constant the wind is out here, Owen.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking if there's ever any kind of national, regional, or international kite flying contest, this would be the place to host it.
Yeah.
What a spot. You could fly a kite 24/7 at the Truro Saints Rugby Club.
It's shocking when it's not windy down here.
I'm just thinking with my daughter, we should see if she wants to go get a kite and come fly it at the rugby club. Trying to fly into the end zone now is New Brunswick. Carrying that ball is Madeline Allaby. Allaby tried to power her way in. She got turned aside, so they'll try to work it down the line the other side. New Brunswick trying to get in again. They've been controlling play since they scored their first try. They've had the Celtics on their heels. There's no question about it. They just don't have the points to show for it. And I think that time they finally do get in. So another try for New Brunswick. So interesting. Since New Brunswick got that try, they've pretty much owned the play.
Yeah, they've been, it's almost like they're taking a page out of Nova Scotia's book. They're up quick on defense now, and they're causing Nova Scotia to make mistakes and take penalties, and they're able to capitalize off that.
So the conversion attempt here for New Brunswick. Low line drive kick underneath the crossbar. So the conversion no good. The lead will stay 34-10. 24-point advantage for the Nova Scotia Celtics in this U16 game. So Celtics will kick it off to New Brunswick once again. Glad you're with us on our continuing coverage of the 2018 Atlantic Canadian Rugby Championships, being proudly brought to you by Wilson's Propane, Truro Nissan, Subway Atlantic, Dalhousie Agricultural Campus, Conference and Event Services, and Firm Foundation Media.
Looks like the touch judge here, Chad Mahoney, on right in front of our screen, lost a contact.
Yeah, he's just walking right in front of our position now. He looked to be kind of right eye. Perhaps he did. Maybe it blew out of his eye with the wind here. It wouldn't be surprising at all. It was funny. There was a gentleman yesterday was watching the earlier matches on the live stream and then came down to the field, and he said, I heard you talking about how windy it was on the broadcast. And he goes, I thought you might have been exaggerating a little bit. He goes, till I got here. He goes, you weren't kidding. I was like, no, I wasn't kidding. She is a stiff breeze a-blowing here, pretty much constant at the Truro Saints Rugby Club. Great if you're a player, kind of a cooling breeze to take off the edge of some of the physical exertion out there. New Brunswick again. Wouldn't it be something if they could get another try here? That would make things interesting for the final few minutes of this half.
Yeah, there's still over 10 minutes left. If they get a quick one, they're right back in it.
Celtics will look to stop that from happening. They just need to get their hands back on the ball. It's been all New Brunswick here since they got their first try. Now they've got 10 unanswered to the Spruce from New Brunswick. Nova Scotia built the big lead at 34-0, but New Brunswick battling back here late in this second half. A couple of players stepping over top of that ball, not wanting to knock it on. The referee right there stops play. advantage New Brunswick. We've seen them take it very quick, and they do. Again, they've got that ball on the Nova Scotia side of the field. Again, a blast from the referee's whistle. Calls that against New Brunswick. Back the other way now, advantage Nova Scotia. Both teams seesawing back and forth here in terms of taking penalties. Now Nova Scotia trying to work with it. I think Nova Scotia at this point would be content just to grind it out here and keep possession away from New Brunswick.
Yep.
But New Brunswick has that ball. Here they come again. Nice run there of about 12 meters. New Brunswick on it again quickly. Trying to work that ball, see if they can get some open space to run with. Celtics recover on defense. Another nice run. New Brunswick just grinding it out here, chewing up meters, trying to get it down close to that Nova Scotia goal. For the most part right now, New Brunswick winning the majority of the battles. Another advantage, they take it quickly. New Brunswick again. Get it up off the ground. Bit of a stalemate now as Nova Scotia picks it up. They'll try to gain some meters underneath them. Another pile of players, and the referee blows the whistle. So Nova Scotia doing their best here to try to bog down New Brunswick in the late stages of this second half. Nova Scotia comes out with it. There's one pass and another. Quick move there by Lauren May. They'll work it back. Ball carrier spun around, tackled down to the ground. Nice work to get it off. They'll pick it up again. Now Nova Scotia gets a little bit of control on the offensive side. Now New Brunswick being forced to chase Nova Scotia around the field just a little bit, and that's right what Nova Scotia wants. There's a quick pass now to the right wing side. They haven't had this kind of open space in a while. Nova Scotia works it over to that far sideline. Well, this is what Nova Scotia wants. They've got the ball deep in New Brunswick territory. They've got possession, and they can just chew up that clock, and if they get some points, it's a bonus. Good tackle there by New Brunswick. Nova Scotia will work with it again. Here's a run into the open space. Cross the line and touchdown for the try. Another 5 on the board for the Nova Scotia Celtics. Nova Scotia finally able to put a cork in the leak that seemed to be forming with New Brunswick pushing back and scoring 10 unanswered points. But finally, Nova Scotia gains a little control. They push right back. They get a try. And they extend the lead. Well, waiting the 2-point conversion. Lauren May, lots of distance, but just pushed a little bit left. So 39-10. Nova Scotia Celtics leading. This U16 women's game. winding down, not much time left. It'll be a short break after this game, and then we'll have a semifinal on the men's U18 side, 2 versus 3 seed. That kick from New Brunswick went fairly deep into the Nova Scotia end. Nova Scotia pick it up now. Quick pass to the sideline. Good tackle there from Brianna Smith for New Brunswick. Nova Scotia carries right on though. Dragging a couple of tacklers with her was Sophie Beck. Now to the other side. Just a couple minutes left in this one. It'd be fairly safe to say that the Celtics should be able to hold on here for the W. It was a solid effort for both teams. New Brunswick made their push, but I think that last try just a few minutes ago by Nova Scotia perhaps sealed the deal here in this one. So it'll be a line out for New Brunswick. Paige Fraser will throw in. No, it's not a New Brunswick throw in. Switch that, so Paige Fraser walks away. It'll be Chloe Beamish who will throw it in. Over that far side. We're going to have a scrum. Pretty deep in the Nova Scotia side of the field. It'll be a New Brunswick scrum. Comes out the other side. New Brunswick picks it up. They'll try to make a dash for the corner. Here's one quick pass. We'll work it back now into the hands of Brianna Smith. Smith just held up. Nova Scotia somehow came away with that ball. It looked like New Brunswick was going to get the try.
I believe she knocked it on while she was grounding the ball, so the referee played a little bit of advantage there as it fell into the Nova Scotia hands, but he's going to bring it back for a scrum for Nova Scotia.
Not much more than a couple of minutes left now in this game. Just grinding out the last few here. The end result pretty much sealed. 39-10, Nova Scotia leading New Brunswick. Quick pass there out of the hands of Sarah Lister. Now they'll try to go to the other corner. They tried the near side just a moment ago. Now they'll try the far side. Still over at that corner flag. So New Brunswick takes this quickly. Can they find an opening to get into the end zone? No, good job by Nova Scotia there. Defense at the line. So we're going to have a little discussion here now between the main official and the side official. Had the roster list for our next game for Team Newfoundland and Labrador U18 handed to me, so that's a welcome sight. Meanwhile, finish out the string here in this one. New Brunswick will have a scrum really close to the Nova Scotia goal line. Couldn't get much closer. I'm sure they can almost sniff the grass in the goal. There's a quick pass, trying to get in. Again, Nova Scotia defense getting there just in the nick of time. New Brunswick's been knocking, but Nova Scotia won't let them open the door.
They're coming up on defense, but they keep becoming offside. And they just held up, and that's the end.
So we knew it was coming soon. This game comes to a conclusion. Full time. The U16 women's matchup goes to Team Nova Scotia. The Celtics defeat the Spruce from New Brunswick by a score of 39-10. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes with our semifinal on the men's U18 side. It'll be Newfoundland and Labrador taking on, I believe it is...
It's actually Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island.
Okay. Well, that's even more. Well, now I've got the Newfoundland roster. Hopefully I can get the other ones. Wouldn't it figure that I would get the game sheet well in advance of a game that's not next on the schedule? Well, that's all good. We certainly appreciate Newfoundland getting us their roster. So we'll sort out who our next game is, but it'll be coming up in just a couple of minutes' time. It was scheduled for 3:30, but it's now 3:45 Atlantic time, so there'll just be a short break. We'll step aside, back with you our next game in just a couple of minutes. Keep it locked right here. You're watching the 2018 Atlantic Canadian Rugby Championships. Your final score in women's U16 action, Nova Scotia Celtics 39, New Brunswick Spruce 10. We'll be back in just a few minutes.